Hello, everyone! For decades, Billy Dee Williams has been a name that conjures up the image of smooth sophistication, effortless charm, and timeless cool. The kind of charisma that could light up a room or command a movie screen without him even saying a word. But behind the sleek suits, that golden voice, and the unforgettable roles in classics like Lady Sings the Blues, Mahogany, and of course Star Wars as the legendary Lando Calrissian, there lies a far deeper, darker story that few ever knew. One filled with heartbreak, controversy, and internal battles that nearly destroyed the man behind the myth. When you think of Billy Dee Williams, you picture the ultimate symbol of black excellence in Hollywood during a time when opportunities for African American actors were painfully limited. He broke barriers in the 1970s and 1980s by portraying characters with class, intelligence, and romantic magnetism, paving the way for future generations. But what most people never realized was that the world's obsession with his image became both his greatest blessing and his most haunting curse. You see, Billy Dee wasn't just playing smooth, he was surviving. Hollywood had typecast him early on as the Black Clark Gable, a heartthrob who could charm anyone. But the industry that adored him for his looks often refused to take him seriously as an artist. Deep down, Billy struggled with the pressure of maintaining an image that wasn't entirely his own. According to friends and insiders, he would spend long nights alone, questioning his identity, feeling trapped between the persona the world wanted and the person he really was. Then came the rumors, whispers that followed him for years, suggesting secrets about his personal life that he could neither confirm nor comfortably deny. When he once hinted in interviews that he saw himself as having both masculine and feminine energy, the media pounced, twisting his words and creating a storm of speculation about his sexuality and his identity. At a time when Hollywood and society weren't as accepting, these remarks nearly derailed his career. What the public didn't know was that Billy was speaking from a place of deep truth, not about scandal, but about his lifelong struggle to reconcile who he was inside with how the world expected him to act. He later clarified that he was not talking about gender or orientation, but about balance, about a human completeness he'd searched for his entire life. But the damage was done. Decades of gossip turned him into a reluctant symbol of controversy, and he quietly withdrew from the spotlight, avoiding interviews and red carpets for years. Yet that wasn't his only dark secret. Beneath the suave exterior was a man haunted by loss. His first marriage to Audrey Sellers ended in heartbreak, and he carried deep guilt over how his early career ambitions consumed his family life. He later found love again with Marlene Clark and then Teruko Nakagami, but those close to him say he never fully healed from the emotional wounds of his younger years. He spoke privately about feeling invisible even when the world was watching him, a painful irony for someone so famous. He poured that pain into his art. Few know that Billy Dee Williams is also an accomplished painter. His artwork, filled with abstract forms and emotional depth, reveals a side of him that words couldn't express. Many of his paintings depict faces split in half, shadows merging with light, a recurring theme symbolizing duality, identity, and internal conflict. He once said painting was his therapy, a way to process years of hidden pain and personal struggle. But the darkest chapter came in the late 1980s when his career hit a wall after being unfairly labeled as difficult to work with. Hollywood moved on to newer faces, and Billy found himself in financial trouble. He lost major opportunities and the offers stopped coming. For a man who had once been a cultural icon, this fall from grace was devastating. At one point, he even faced bankruptcy, and some of his closest friends feared he would never recover. Yet, in typical Billy Dee fashion, he reinvented himself. He leaned into his legacy, embraced fan culture, and used conventions and interviews to reconnect with the public that had once adored him. He admitted in later years that the charm everyone loved was partly armor, a way to protect himself from a world that had often treated him like a symbol instead of a person. But as he aged, he learned to shed that armor and reveal more of the real man. Then came one of the most surprising turns in his story, his rediscovery by an entirely new generation through the revival of Star Wars. When Disney brought Lando Calrissian back, Billy Dee found himself once again under the spotlight, this time celebrated not just as an actor, but as a legend. Fans saw beyond the image and recognized the survivor, the man who had endured rejection, reinvention, and reinvention again. But here's what truly stunned people who've dug deeper into his story. Billy Dee Williams' darkest secret isn't something scandalous or shameful. It's that he spent a lifetime masking deep emotional pain with grace and style so flawless that no one ever suspected how much he'd suffered behind the scenes. His charm was real, but it was also a defense mechanism, built out of necessity in an industry that often punished vulnerability. He once said in an interview, "People think I'm the coolest man alive, but cool is just calm after chaos. You can't learn it without the pain." Those who've seen his private art exhibitions and read his unpublished notes say that his real story, the one hidden between the movie roles and magazine covers, is about resilience, self-acceptance, and survival in a world that constantly tried to define him. Even now, at over 80 years old, Billy Dee Williams carries himself with that same effortless dignity. But the knowing smile he gives today isn't just confidence, it's peace. He's come to terms with his past, his identity, and the myths the world created about him. He's even spoken publicly about the importance of mental health, empathy, and creative self-expression, especially for Black men in entertainment, encouraging younger generations not to let fame consume their sense of self. In truth, what people are finally realizing is that Billy Dee Williams's darkest secret wasn't about scandal. It was that he spent most of his life hiding just how human he was. Beneath the icon, beneath the legend, beneath the galaxy-famous cape of Lando Calrissian, was a man who quietly fought to be understood, to be loved for who he truly was, not who the world wanted him to be. And in revealing that truth, through his words, his art, and his later interviews, Billy Dee Williams proved something extraordinary. Even the smoothest man alive has his scars, and sometimes the coolest thing you can ever do is finally let them show. Thanks for watching.